Hey guys, welcome back to My Anime Heroes Customs. For this week, we are making another character from Bleach. Bleach Customs are getting hyped again for the return of the anime for the 1000-year Blood War arc. Renji Abarai and Zabimaru. More Bleach Customs coming soon. Hope you guys enjoy this. It'll be the 109th commission project. Join my Patreon if you want to see more builds and customs in the future. Names of patrons will be included at the end of every video as a thank you for their support on this channel. Check out link in description box below if you want to support my work. I thank you in advance and cheers! Let's do this! Let's take a look at our materials. I'm using a Dasin Ichigo for our base body and we have Hanshi Arts 3D printed heads. I think I've already stated this before that we are very lucky that Dasin already provided us with a great base body for these Bleach customs. So this Bleach Ichigo is a very good base to start with. We also have 3 different faces of 3D printed head sculpts from my partner Hanshi Arts. You can check out his link in the description box below. We only printed one piece of that hair sculpt because it will be interchangeable across the 3 heads. And my client requested for a Zabimaru accessory, so Hanshi Arts 3D printed me a Zabimaru skull, which I'll make as an accessory. Taking off the head, let's see the size and proportion. That looks really great, and I think that's a perfect scale for the Dasin Ichigo. Now we can start our work. Our first step is to spray a primer base onto the head sculpt. So I'm using a Bosni primer gray so that we can see the details and what we need to clean up in these prints. Results of the primer gray, now we can see the head sculpts more clearly with their details and their facial expression. So these are 3 specific faces that my client requested for Renji. After cleaning up the excess plastic, I'm gonna spray a Tamiya flat flesh for the skin tone and then match it to the Dasin Ichigo flesh color. And taking a look at the Zabimaru head sculpt, it looks clean, it's good. Now after cleaning up some of the excess plastic, I'm gonna spray paint this white base and then detail them up later. I'm just gonna show you a preview on how I plan to do this Zabimaru. I bought this synthetic fur that I'm gonna use for his red fur around the skeleton, and then I'm gonna make a body out of it for the accessory later. Taking a look at the Dasin base without the clothing. Since we're making a Renji custom, Renji has these tattoos, marks around his body that we need to replicate. So what I'm gonna do is get my pencil and sketch it out onto the body. Then I might use a black acrylic paint or a matte ball pen or a fine pen. So I'm just gonna show you the results later on. The most difficult part of this custom, I think, will be the weapons. So I have these 2 pieces of Zanpakuto from the Dasin Ichigo base. The other one came from the base body that we will be using for Uryu Ishida, which we will be doing in the next few weeks. So I have these extra ones since we will not be using that with Uryu. And now I'm gonna try to replicate and make Renji's Zanpakuto, which is Zabimaru, which is like a cleaver with a spikes at the end of the big sword. So I have a black Sintra board right here, and I'm sketching out the additional parts that I'll be adding onto the Zanpakuto of Ichigo sword. Let's cut, and we'll use some trial and error. I've got this additional piece for Renji's Zanpakuto, so it's like an additional piece that will attach to the big knife. Now it will be like more of a meat cleaver shape, and then I'll be adding spikes across the blade and make sure that everything will flow and will be seamless into a one big meat chopper blade for Renji. Here is a fast forward after much sanding and gluing and using super glue to achieve the shape that we want. So I've made it as flush as we can into a one seamless sword, meat chopper sword. And now it's time to add the blades. Forward, ta-da! Now we have 2 identical Zabimaru Zanpakuto sword. I don't know what to call this, but it looks like a meat cleaver with spikes on the end. So I just added spikes with the same material, which is a black Sintra board. Now what I'll do is the other one will stay as it is, color it in a proper color with the black and the silver accent, and the other one I'll cut up into pieces and add wire in the middle to make it posable. Another fast forward, I've already painted and detailed up the head sculpts of Renji. I've already painted the hair red, and I've already added his forehead marks, tattoos. Now, these three different head sculpts have three different headbands. So for this serious face, we have the maroon cloth, and for this angry face, we have the white cloth, and for this smirking, grinning face, I'll be using a black material to add a mask. Taking a look at the body of Renji again, I've already finished drawing in his body tattoos, his body marks. So I've used a micron pen to outline this, and I've also used a Bosni flat clear, which is a matte coat, clear coat, to spray on the body so that the ink of the pen can stick easily onto the body since it's plastic. So it was just a trial and error into making it stick and having it dried fully. I also have this extra kimono from, again, the Oryu Ishida base body that we will be doing in a few weeks. So I'll be cutting off one of the sleeves off because I am gonna use the synthetic fur, this peach synthetic fur for his Bankai state, which Renji has this overcoat of the Zabimaru skeleton, which will go over his right arm, and then we will make a skull of the Zabimaru animal. It's like a gorilla skull onto that left coat. So we need a small skeleton skull that will go on top of the left shoulder of the peach overcoat. So I don't have a 3D printed head sculpt of that, so we're gonna make it from scratch. I have an extra SHF bodycon head that I'll be cutting up in half, and then I'll be shaping it into a gorilla type skull, and then drill holes in for the eyes and shape it like this, clean it up, and we'll paint this white. Now I've already cut off the extra kimono. I forgot to mention that this is an extra kimono from the Oryu Ishida base that we will be using in the next week. This peach fur coat will only have one right sleeve hole, so I'm gonna make a right sleeve that we can easily go in and out of the right arm, and it will just go lay on top of his shoulders like this. Maybe cut off the fur a little bit so that we can shape it on how we want it. Tada! Little fast forward, I've made a right sleeve only, and the rest will just lay on top of his shoulder so you can easily insert the right arm, and the coat will just hang in front of the shoulders just like this. I've trimmed the fur also, and I have this extra piece I think came from the Marvel Legends Wild Child figure, and it's perfect for this accessory for Renji. So I got the other piece of the Zanpakuto of Renji and cut it into pieces. And now I think it's time to put a wire inside of them. I think I'll be needing a bigger wire than this. So I'm thinking of making a one long wire that goes across everything so that I can put a cloth in between them so that when it bends, everything follows through. And tada! Just like this, I changed my wire. I used a bigger wire, and I made the wire go across all of the pieces in the middle so that it has like a spine that goes across all the pieces so that when you bend it, it moves along, all of the pieces move along together. And then I have a beige fabric. I think I'm going to be using a gray fabric, and I'll be putting some fabric in the middle so that it mimics the whip-like sword of Renji's Zanpakuto. And this flesh tone fabric will be also the body that I'll be using for the Zabimaru. So I'll be using a wire that will go across the skull to the tail, and we'll add the synthetic fur on Zabimaru. So I've attached the wire to the skull. It goes just a long thread across to the back to the tail. And I've scrunched up a bunch of paper that goes behind the skeleton in front of the synthetic fur. That this will be our mold for the fur, so that the synthetic fur has a puff to it. More accurate to the look of Zabimaru in the anime, just like that. And I'll be covering the wire with the fabric that I showed you earlier. Fling, 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 tada! And finally, he is done. We have Renji Abarai Custom. I really enjoyed this build because it's a fairly simple and easy build. If not for the weapons and the accessories, he's a very straightforward build. I really like Renji's character from the anime, and I'm really glad that I was able to give life to this figure. So taking a look at the multiple head sculpts that my client requested, here are the final looks. So one with the white headband, one with the black mask, and one with the red headband. Now the hair sculpt is on a ball joint peg that can be switched into the other head sculpts, so we could bring down the cost and it will be a little bit more efficient. And it can be swapped really easily across the three head sculpts. Taking a look at the regular face again, let's bring it back. It looks really good and very proportional to the Dasin body. One Dasin design flaw that I noticed was for the pants. For us to be able to easily remove the pants, I cut up the pants from the back and added Velcro, so that once we attach the kimono in and out of Renji, you can easily tuck in the top part of the kimono and not be a hassle with his garterized belt. Now you can see Renji with his body tattoos or body marks, which looks really good. My client also requested for another accessory, which is a very simple one. It's a sword and sheath of the regular Zanpakuto of Renji. This is just an SHF bodycoon repainted, and I added a working sheath for the SHF sword using a plastic straw, and it looks really good. So now let's take a look at the two swords that Renji has when he's in his Bankai form, or the Zanpakutos. One is the regular sword and the other one is the whip-like sword. Renji can wield these swords very easily. They're a little bit big, so if you want to pose it out of his body, we might need an extra stand. I really liked how this whip-like sword came out. It's very flexible, it's very posable. You just have to be very careful, but I think this is the best way to do this kind of accessory for Renji. Let's remove the head and exchange it with his other form. Bringing out the other accessories for his Bankai form, we have the peach coat and the half-sleeve kimono extra. I think this will be my favorite look for Renji. He has two forms from this one, I believe. One is with his top off, so that you can see his body tattoos just like this, and with the white headband on, and it looks really good. I like how this coat gives a badass feel for Renji. And then of course we have another form of this mode, which has the half-sleeve kimono. This will put our Velcro pants into play really well, so you can just slip on the top kimono and pull up the Velcroed pants up, which makes it a lot easier to swap and for playability. Now we can add on the peach coat again, and we will add the black head sculpt with the headband for this mode, and just like that, we have the final Bankai form, not final, but the Bankai form of Renji Abarai. Oh, I love how this came out. It looks, I tried to make it as accurate as possible with regards to the anime, and of course with this form comes with the Zabimaru accessory. Zooming out a little bit so we have more space to look at this huge accessory. I've made the fur into a ball-like shape, and the body is just a thin fabric so that it moves along with the wire so that it's not hard to pose. And of course, once I ship it off to the client, nothing's gonna break, and it will be easier to ship off in this form. That looks amazing. Guys, I am so happy how this custom turned out. I mean, bringing life into this figure and even the Zabimaru accessory, I'm really grateful for the opportunity and the trust my clients are giving. What are we waiting for? Jump straight to action poses!